difficult here. All right, so Katie, why did you decide to run for Select Board?
Oh, well, that's an easy answer. So I decided to run for Select Board because I moved back to the Cape because I wanted to be closer to my family. I have a successful business. I've lived in San Francisco and Philadelphia. I've lived in very expensive places, and I cannot find a place to live here. There are only 3 homes for rent that will allow a large dog. One is a 3-bedroom for $3,500. Another one is a 3-bedroom for $4,200. And another one is a 4-bedroom for $4,000 a month. I have a successful business, and I cannot spend that much on rent and also save up for a down payment on a house as a single person. So I'm living with my parents, and that is not something that I wish on anyone my age, because I'm 36. Although I do love my parents, and I hope they enjoy having me. We need to make it easier for young folks to live in this town, if not just because they, are part of our workforce, but because they make our town a really special place to live. Currently, my parents are constantly having their doctors change out through Cape Cod Healthcare. I'm sorry, Outer Cape, thank you. Through Outer Cape Healthcare. And it's because their doctors literally cannot afford to live here with their student loan debts. So I'm running because I want to make it easier so that our elders can have the continuity of care of having a doctor who can afford to live here, and so individuals like myself can build a life here.
Thank you. Mark?
Yes, Mark Kelleher here. I'm running for Select Board because I'm very interested in the town and I'm interested in serving. I've attended Select Board meetings for the last 5 years quite often, so I'm prepared to, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I know how things work. I've been active in the community. I serve on the Harwich Finance Committee for the last 4 years. I've been on the Housing Authority, the Capital Outlay Committee. I was on the Monomoy School Building Project. So I've been very heavily involved in the community. And specifically why I'm running for Select Board is I want to see an improvement in our governance. We've suffered from a lot of turnover in our town government. I think it's hurt us. I want to see that improved. I want to see a change in the assessment formula at Monomoy schools. I think that will help both towns, but it will specifically help Harwich with in terms of our finances. I want to help with housing. I think we have some good things on the boards. I'd like to work at some smaller types of development that can happen faster. As you know, some of these bigger developments, it takes a while. And finally, I want to work on wastewater. Wastewater is a large financial burden that is hanging over our heads. It's $300 million over the next 20 or 30 years. I want to work at trying to figure out how we're going to pay for that so we can still make needed investments in our staff and in our town. And so that's why I'm running for Select Board, and I'd appreciate your support in a few days. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark will go first on the next question, which is, what do you believe are the top 2 issues facing the Select Board?
I think the top 2 issues facing the Select Board are governance. I think we're in the process of moving along on that. We've hired a new finance director. I've read her resume. I've seen the results of her interview. She seems to be a specialist and somebody who can forecast debt and oncoming payments that we may have with wastewater. She's dealt with a town that may be similar to Harwich, Ashland. So I'm looking forward to her. I think a lot of us suffer with what's coming next when we see all the debt work coming on. I think a part of feeling comfortable in the future is knowing what's coming, and I'm hopeful that new hire will do that. I look forward to a new town administrator. I would like to have a future town administrator who is receptive, who will answer calls and return emails, who will set a good and open tone here in our town hall, who will be supportive of our employees. So hopefully our new town administrator will reduce our turnover. And the last thing is our school budget. I'm sorry, I've lost that. Did I actually answer the school budget? But I will say, I think the school budget issue is important, and I'm just going to read 1 or 2 excerpts from a town regional school system that is similar to ours here in Harwich and Chatham. It's Manchester and Essex, up on the North Shore, relatively well off. Capital costs are based upon 50% of equal valuation of each member town, and 50% on the basis of the respective populations. Instructional costs are based upon 25% on the average equalized valuation, and 75% on the basis of average respective pupil enrollment. I think we've heard from some of our school committee candidates some good solutions. I've read about in the paper about somebody saying that we should have a 60% sharing.
Thank
But I
you.
believe we have a good mixture together to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie?
I believe the two issues that are most important that our town faces are housing and the environment, and conveniently, they both tie into supporting economic development for us. In our housing development issues, like I said, we don't have enough housing here for folks who want to live here to build a life here, which means that we really curtail our businesses in how long they can be open, how many days they can be open. We have a very short busy season where a lot of our business owners have to make the majority of their money for the entire year. And we're kneecapping them if we aren't giving them feasible workforce housing. And also, it's making it impossible for families to thrive here. We have an amazing school system, and also people are having to move off Cape because they can't afford to live here. Our environment is another thing. We live in a very delicate ecosystem. It's unique to anywhere else in the world, and it is a huge draw for tourists to come here. It's the basis of our economy. And it's one of those things that, if you're not taking care of it, it's going to be a lot harder to restore it to what it is today than it will be to just protect it now. I believe that, I see the arguments on both sides. There are a lot of folks who believe that housing and the environment aren't complementary issues, but I think there are a lot of really dynamic things that we can do to develop more housing that's affordable and attainable for folks, and also protect our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Katie, is up first. What is your specific communication strategy if elected? And as an example, the food scrapping program had to go through many modes of communications to get the word out versus a town-wide communication.
I love this question. So I actually have plans already in the works for this. First and foremost, and I won't name anything, but I do have a social media account that I plan on communicating with the town through, so people can get a summary of what's being said in meetings and new things that we're rolling out. I've already spoken with Helen over at Cape Media. I have plans of developing a short, not super developed TV show that updates folks on what's going on. I also would love to overhaul our website. Our website is impossible to navigate. You can't even find out what channel 18, which isn't on 18 anymore, is, which still throws me. I think we need to make it a lot easier for folks to find out all the amazing resources that we have in this town. For instance, new parents, they can get a subsidy for childcare for their children, but tell me where they find that on the website. It's impossible for them to even find the information out. So we need to redo the website, and I plan on, in addition to those things, I do plan on also having monthly meetups, both at a playground or the community center, for parents to come and meet with me, at a coffee shop locally, and then do some kind of evening thing so people can come and talk to me and ask questions and raise issues without the pressure of having to come to a select board meeting, because this is an intimidating room. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
I'm too intimidated to speak, I'm sorry. No. I believe, and I've said it many, many times, we need one objective source of information. One way to do that is a town newsletter. I've always used an example of, you could see the flags at half-staff. It would be nice to know why. But the town newsletter would be able to spread the word on food scraps, on everything objective that you need to know. I like the idea of having email addresses so the town could push it out each week. So I think that would be one thing I would do for communication. The other thing I would recommend that we do is have a monthly report from each town department to the select board that you, the public, could look at, that would talk about all the work that each department did each month. how many permits they issued, how many calls they responded to. The advantage of that is you could see all the work that our town employees do, and you can anticipate things. For example, I see the fire department here. You could see perhaps year-to-date calls, previous year, and you could kind of anticipate future needs. So I think those two things would be a great addition to our communication. The final thing, I think you just need to be out in the community. I like what some of the present members of the Select Board do. They have some meetings at a coffee shop. I think that's a positive thing. I think just being out in the community, going to the coffee shop and having people reach out to you and call to you. So that's what I would do for better communication. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're up first for the next question, which is what steps will you take to improve retention of staff?
What steps I would take to improve retention of staff? I think it starts at the top with the town administrator. He sets the tone. I'm a firm believer in the management ethos of you hire good people, you let them go. You don't need to be looking over their shoulder. So I think that's one of the first things. I think I just read something recently where some of the town staff were recognized perhaps in this newsletter of some things they have done. I think we have, I just drove by the cemetery. There's two guys out cutting those lawns. They probably don't get a positive, maybe they do, because I know Link is a good supervisor, but just to give some positive feedback to them. But number one, you hire good people, you let them go do their job. And number two, you give them some recognition. So that's what I would do for retention.
Thank you. Katie?
A couple things. So, leadership is incredibly important. People do not leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. And so we need to make sure that we are hiring a very supportive, emotionally intelligent, communicative town administrator. But also, the town administrator works with the select board. The select board sets the tone for how leadership happens in this town and in town hall. So we need to really focus on developing each member of the select board so that they can create a very positive, growth-oriented environment here at town hall. In conjunction with that, we are one of the lowest paying towns for salaries. I've talked about this numerous times already this evening. The cost of living here is insane. We're expecting folks to come here and work in town hall and not be able to afford to live here. So they're gonna work in Harwich but commute in from off Cape. That doesn't make any sense to me. We have to look at what other towns are paying and make sure that we are competitive, because we are gonna start losing really talented people to other towns very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And so Katie, you are up first for the next question, which is, what is one currently untapped opportunity for the town?
One untapped opportunity for the town is I would love to be able to hire a grant writer. There are so many grants available to us on a state level, even private grants that we're just not applying to because we don't have the manpower or the woman power to go after and apply for that money. We have a finite amount of money that we bring in every year from taxes, from our businesses. It just makes so much sense if there's money on the table somewhere else to go and just ask for it. I believe it was Yarmouth or Dennis, I might be misquoting here. They hired a grant writer. I believe they paid them under $80,000 a year, and they brought in about $2 million in 1 year. Think of what we could do with $2 million. That's one of the things that I think we should do.
Thank you. Mark?
Mark, right here. I think I think we have somebody on staff who's in their job description to write grants. We have a seasonal community. I would like to utilize our present staff as much as possible. I think with our financial difficulties, I'm very aware of headcount, that going forward, we're going to have a tremendous amount of debt. So I'd like to utilize our present employees as much as possible. In terms of another untapped opportunity, I believe we need to talk a little bit about economic opportunity and improving of our revenue stream, both in fees. I spoke to Link Hooper not too long ago. Town disposal area has over 120 or 150 acres of unused land. Now, that could be perhaps a light industrial area. It could be an area where solar could go. But I think it's important for this town, number one, to maintain fiscal discipline, and that means using our employees to the best way that we can. And secondly, look at other opportunities to improve our financial shape. And that could be by, as I said, taking advantage of our 150 acres at the town disposal area in terms of economic opportunity, or perhaps solar.
Thank you. And question number 6, Mark, is what is your position on requiring a long-term financial plan in each year's warrant or other public document?
Well, to a degree, we already have that in terms of our capital outlay. With our new finance director, I think one of her primary goals should be to develop a financial plan to finish the CWMP, which could be in 2040 or 2045, to project that forward, to break it down yearly so we'll see what the effect will be on our budget, on our taxes. So that would be what I would do, and I think that could be as part of the warrant, like the rear pages where we have the capital outlay committee for the next 5 years. We could also add on a portion of that for the wastewater CWMP plan.
Thank you. Katie?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that we should absolutely be doing. And I also think that it would be very important for us to go to each and every department that is in the town. For instance, the police department, I got a tour there a couple months ago. The toilets in these cells, if you get arrested, the toilets are starting to leak. That's $5,000 because you need special toilets to be in those cells. Because if you have someone who's misbehaving, you want to make sure that they can't knock it off its hinges. We need to make sure that we're going and interviewing each and every department and just looking at what are the expenses that are gonna be coming down the pipeline and making sure that we're accounting for all that. Because I'm a business owner and I know you can make a financial plan and you can make it really far out, but things change and new expenses come up. Technology changes. You know, imagine we get hit with a ransomware attack and we have to completely overhaul our whole computer system as a town. You know, we can absolutely look into the future and set a plan, but we have to be flexible. We have to understand that new expenses are going to come up. And we can be proactive to a certain degree, but we have to also be flexible. Thank you.
Thank you. And Katie, the next question is, please tell us your thoughts on filling the open town administrator position. Do you think the open position should be filled in the short term by the assistant town administrator?
I am a big fan of institutional knowledge. I think it's really important to have folks in positions, even if it's temporary, to have who know what's going on so that they can have that continuity. I think, you know, if it takes us a long time to find a town administrator and our assistant town administrator is willing to do the extra work, that would absolutely be a conversation that we could have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark?
I think Megan Eldridge is a very capable, could be a very capable interim town administrator. I think she's handled her job as Joe's assistant very, very well. I would like dealing with her. And I think it would give time to have a search firm search out for some of the best candidates we could have for our town. That may take a while, not only to search out the best candidates, but to have an interview process, not only with the select board, but with a select group of people from the community. But I'd be very comfortable with Megan serving as the interim town administrator. She may want to throw her hat in the ring, which would be acceptable to me, although that may scare away some other candidates. But I have a lot of confidence in Megan. I think she's calm, cool, and collected, and that's what we want, at least especially in the near term.
Thank you. And Mark, the next question is, what are your priorities, bless you, with regard to collective bargaining with town unions and employees? Do you support raising employee salaries to match the cost of living in this area?
Well, I was a public employee myself. I believe you have to pay fairly to get good service. There is a negotiation policy. I made mention at the meeting we had last week. I worked in two highly union environments before, both in the trucking and in the railroad industry. I believe in paying people fairly, but I believe in getting good work rules as well. A lot of the companies that I work for went out of business because of their antiquated work rules. So I believe, I think I have heard that Harwich was the second lowest in terms of its pay rate. I don't feel comfortable with that. I see our fire department showing up in any type of weather, any type of condition, the same with our police, same with our public works. I don't want them to think that we don't care about them, and one way that you show that you care about them is pay them a fair wage, so. And if we're gonna keep good people, both in terms of employees, but also of staff, we have to pay them a fair wage.
Thank you. Katie?
I mean, we have to be competitive. If we want to keep really talented people, we have to pay them enough to be worthwhile staying with. You know, it actually costs us more money if we're understaffed. I spoke with Chief Considine. He has, 3 openings on the police force. Because he has 3 openings in the police force, he has to ask for $600,000 a year in overtime. That costs us a lot of money. He doesn't pay that much if he had those 3 people. If we lose someone, and this is standard across business, if you lose someone because they get a job somewhere else and you don't have an immediate backfill, which we don't because people can't afford to live here, it can cost 150% of that person's salary to bring in someone new. And not to mention the added stress and strain it adds to every other person in that department who now has to fill the gap and do extra work while they're trying to find someone. Because that work doesn't go away when we lose people. I think it makes smart business sense, and it makes smart sense as a town for our sustainability as a service provider to the people to pay fair wages. Thank you.
And Katie, you're up for this question. How would you encourage greater participation in town boards and committees?
I love this question. I mean, first and foremost, I want you to look around this room. No offense to people here, but we don't have a whole lot of people under 40. Right? One thing that our parents are really running into, they want to be involved. They love this town. This is where they've chosen to raise their children. And it's a beautiful town. My parents moved us here when I was a kid because it was such an amazing place to live. But it's 7 p.m. And if you're a parent that has kids, a 4-year-old, this is bedtime. This is bath time. Even if you have kids who are, on sports teams, like you're going and picking them up and dropping them off. We have to find ways to make these meetings work for parents. And I don't know if it's holding them slightly earlier, or if it's having things available on the weekend, having some kind of childcare available. I think that would make a huge difference. One of the things that I've been hearing from a lot of my friends here in Harwich who are parents is how impossible it was to go to town meeting. And even if they do go, one of their co-parent has to stay home with the kids. And they're really jealous of other towns that have those meetings on Saturdays. So I think we have to make them more accessible logistically for people. And then I also think it's really important for us to like technical term things. People come to these meetings and they don't understand what's going on. We have to make it more in layman's terms so people understand and can easily feel like they can be in the conversation without being worried that they're going to sound stupid. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
We have a lot of committees in town, and it's hard to believe that they are just about fully staffed. So I would like to have an appreciation for all the town committee members. Appreciation time in the fall, a cookout or something like that, because they come to all these meetings, stay late, and that's about it. So, first of all, I'd like to institute something like that. I think sometimes that, especially if we run short on committee volunteers, is that we have so many committees that we should look at trying to consolidating some and trying to get so they're fully staffed and get all their input. That's what I would do. I also think there's, several, I think Orleans and several other towns are talking about having an economic development committee. So here we go, we're even adding a committee. But those are the three things I would like to do. Appreciation, consolidate, and looking at even some new committees, economic development, for an example.
Thank you. Mark, the next question is, what is your approach to affordable housing in Harwich?
Well, all of the above from what I've heard. We have some very good large-scale developments on the boards. I just read today in the Chronicle that the Marceline property is moving ahead. We have another property that has some pros and cons up in North Harwich. We have a very accomplished ZBA that's going to take the law into account and the neighborhood's concerns into account, and hopefully something will work out there. We have John Kerry in West Harwich. I, in fact, are in favor of some smaller-sized developments, for example, ADUs. We've given out millions of dollars to some of these larger developments. For example, if you wanted to build a small ADU, so if you were a single person, older in their home, you could get grants for the small ADUs, and I think that would put more housing units on the board a lot quicker. So I think it's all the above. We need bigger developments. We need some small type of cluster types of developments. And then finally, we need ADUs that people could get small grants from either the CPC or the Affordable Housing Trust to put more housing units on the board.
Thank you. Katie?
We have a lot of options. We have some really incredible developers that are willing to partner with us, that we can insist that they have a certain percentage of affordable housing. We need to encourage development. We need to encourage a change in some of our zoning laws. I know it's scary. I know people get really freaked out when you think about zoning, because you imagine this big, like, cement monstrosity that, is going to be hideous. But there are ways to make multi-unit buildings that look beautiful and that fit in with the vibe of Harwich, and that makes affordable housing and attainable housing for folks like me that don't qualify for affordable housing. We need to look at some options for developing workforce housing as well. We have a fair amount of town land that we could leverage for that. We, of course, want to make sure that we're picking the right parcels, that we're not having an unintended impact on our environment, that, we're doing this in concert with what makes sense for our town. But we need to make sure that our workforce can live here. We also need to partner with local businesses so that we can develop seasonal workforce housing. When I was in college, I worked for Oquasit, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they have an old motel that they bought that is just housing in the summer, and it makes it possible for them to bring in folks from all over the world so that they have enough staff so that they can be massively successful through that season. I think our town could do something very similar. I also, this is a very exciting topic, toilet technology. I'm a big fan of ADUs, but for a lot of folks, it's unattainable because they have a septic system that won't support it. There's a lot of cutting edge toilet technology that we could invest in and push the state on that would make it easier for them to install those on their properties. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just note for the audience that ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit. They used to call them in-law apartments, and now they're also standalones. So just so you know what we're talking about here. For the next question, Katie, you'll be up first, and it's in your professional life. What is the accomplishment of which you are most proud?
The accomplishment that I am most proud of is my business. I'm a business strategist and leadership coach. So I literally help folks who want to start a business, start their business. I teach them how to do marketing and sales and how to have the confidence to put themselves out there and how do they price their work. I've helped hundreds of clients at this point and helped my clients generate millions of dollars. And every single day I get to get on the phone with folks who are literally building their dream. And I get a little emotional when I talk about it because it's so impactful. And they get to go into their communities and do really, really good work and pay it forward. And that's what I'm most proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
In terms of what I'm most proud of, there are several things in my career I'm proud of. I would get the trains out on time, would load the trucks up and get them to their destination on time. We'd build some big projects in Boston, and it was always exciting to see the tenants move in and see their happiness about getting the project done on time. But I have to say, one of the most endearing and fulfilling things that I did is I was a reading specialist in the last part of my career. And I had students in middle school who didn't know how to read. I became Wilson certified and I was a reading specialist. And that was the biggest accomplishment I have. I would have students that parents would actually contact me and say, Mr. Kelleher, I really want to thank you. You helped my child to read. That was the most endearing thing, and that was one of the best moves I've made in my life is changing my career to teaching and helping younger students.
Thank you. And Mark, the next question is, are you aware of the Herring River study? Should Harwich be using the results of the study in their permits for floats, et cetera?
I in the Herring River quite a bit. I'll be in it every day in another month. I swim in it. I believe that is about docks in the river. I think the river is actually quite built out. The way I look at it, almost every home has a dock. I understand that there's questions about the shellfish, if they're affected by the docks. I am a commercial shellfisherman in the Herring River. Where the docks are, usually, my experience is it's so muddy, there are no shellfish there. It's more in the middle of the river. But I'm in favor of controlled development, and I think that's what the Herring River study highlighted, that we have to be careful how many structures we build in that river and how it affects the eelgrass and the shellfish down below.
Thank you. Katie,
May I have the question again? I missed the last part.
are you aware of the Herring River study? Should Harwich be using the results of the study in their permits for floats, et cetera?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I'm kicking myself because this is one of those things my dad was trying to tell me about, and I told him, "Oh no, I don't think I'm going to get a question on that."
It looks like your dad's handwriting.
I will say, I'm a big fan of data. I don't think that we should be making any decision that has to do with our very delicate environment and our business development that doesn't have to do with data, that we're not looking at it and seeing what the impact is going to be. So whatever data we're getting from this study that I will definitely be looking up and finding out more about after this, I think we should absolutely take into account in whatever plans we have for that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, looks like different handwriting. What is your position on home rule petition on fertilizers and pesticides? Not necessarily the specific petitions from the last 2 years.
Who goes first?
Katie.
I do. I mean, like I've said numerous times tonight, we have a very delicate ecosystem. I think that there are a lot of ways that we can control pests that we're not utilizing right now. I think there are a lot of ways that we can also mitigate our need to use fertilizers. In doing a lot of research on landscaping practices, clover, instead of using grass, clover is an amazing alternative. And not only because it doesn't require as much fertilizer, if any, it's a nitrogen fixer, but because it is a natural native plant that actually brings in all the bugs and critters that actually control pests that we want to kill. So I think in part we need to look at how are we educating and setting the standard as a town for folks and showcasing here's what we should be doing in our gardens. And also we need to be looking at what are the pesticides and fertilizers that are causing the most harm, and if it makes sense for us to limit those. I think there's a way for us to do it that will protect the environment, but also take into account the businesses, the landscaping companies that rely on this kind of work to thrive here. So thank you.
Thank you. Mark.
On the Finance Committee, we voted in favor of the fertilizer and pesticide bylaw. I'll take fertilizer first. We're spending $300 to $400 million to control how much nitrogen we put into our waterways and estuaries, so it doesn't make much sense to me that we add to it. I do appreciate the fact that a lot of the landscapers say it's a state thing. I would put some of the landscapers on the board to decide on this. We hear the term organic fertilizers. A lot of the organic fertilizers come from sewage treatment plants, which is full of PFAS. So and that would be the same for pesticides. We're doing so much to improve our water quality. I don't want to add to it, but I'd like the input of some of the people who are in the business, put them on the board so we can get their input, and that will help us make the best decision. We didn't approve some of the tree things, but I think fertilizers and pesticides is what I would be in favor of controlling to some degree.
Thank you. And Mark, the last question starts with you. Please address climate change impact on Harwich, now and in the future. Do you support recommendations for a Harwich Climate Action Plan in addition to the comprehensive plan?
I'm seeing the dangers of climate. I live on the south side, Nantucket Sound. Last year, we had several big southeastern storms. Brooks Road lost about 15 feet of berm. So, I know the present political climate is all towards fossil fuels. I think we're going to find out probably sooner rather than later with some of the scope of the storms we're going to have that we need to address it. I'd like some of the climate action proposals that I've heard here at the Select Board. I like the idea of hiring somebody part-time to put together a plan. I like the idea of hiring somebody to measure all our energy use in all our buildings to see where we can save money. And I do have concerns about some of the stretch code that would increase the cost of affordable housing, but I think we can go at it incrementally by taking some of the advice of what the climate action plan is, and that should help us in at least the next 10 or 15 years to, number one, bring our utility use into focus so we can see where we can save. Maybe bring some some energy efficient software into buildings so we don't, they shut down at night. So I think we can do a lot in the near term.
Thank you. Katie?
Yes, I think we do need to have an action plan for the future, and I think that we need to have two action plans, actually. I think we need to have one that is specific to disaster relief, because climate change is here. It's not slowing down, it is happening, and the storms are gonna get more and more serious. We're seeing this all over the country, all over the world. We need to make sure that our residents understand what they need to do if and when a massive storm comes and hits. We also need to look at what areas are going to be most impacted so that we can make sure that they are prepared and that our first responders are prepared to help them. We also, as a responsible town in this country and in this world, we need to have a plan for how we are going to cut back on our climate impact. Right now, Val Bell has made a presentation a month and a half ago to the Select Board about applying for the Climate Leader Program. I believe that's the term. Yep. It's a comprehensive plan for how we could transition over the next couple decades over to more resilient, more protective climate systems, from our vehicles to our buildings to our heating systems, what have you. I think it's really important for us to invest in our time and energy in those things, because the beautiful thing about stuff like that is there's a lot of money available in grants. So thank you.
Thank you. And since we're mostly over 40, now it's time to say goodnight. Although first, we will have closing statements, first from Mark and then Katie.
Okay, thank you so much, League of Women Voters, for sponsoring this. Thank you, the audience who came out. As a town, we have to confidently deal with the many challenges we are facing, just as many other Cape towns are facing. We've heard all of these problems we're facing today, but most towns in the Cape are facing the same circumstances, and we can all learn together. As I've campaigned door to door, we need to be cognizant that there are many residents on fixed incomes. So there is a balancing act between fiscal discipline and the need for investments in our town. We have the opportunity now in the hiring of a new town administrator for someone who will listen and be responsive to the citizens' needs and who will bring best practices to our town. We do have a thriving democracy here in town. When you see participation at, for example, this meeting, at select board meetings, at town meeting, it is a virtue to be a fiscal conservative in these times. Fiscal discipline needs to take a front seat going forward. We need to differentiate between needs and desires. Many proposals would be nice, but some are luxuries that Harwich cannot easily afford to do in these economic times. We need to make practical decisions and sometimes say no. But we also need to look at increasing some of the revenue side, and that's why I'm advocating for an economic development committee, a look at fees and revenues, and also to look at our town disposal area of 150 acres that we could do something with. So I ask you, please consider me for your vote for Select Board on May 20th. I will listen and be available to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie?
Thank you. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this evening and for all of you for being here. One of the things I really hope to bring to the Select Board is a fresh take on what we can do. Systems that have existed for so long with the same players, they're not necessarily bad. They're not evil. There's nothing wrong with them except that there tends to be one way of thinking. And there tends to be this system gets put in place that worked for a certain period of time, and yet at some point, some of those systems start getting outdated. And because it has been done for so long, and the folks who are in it have been at it for so long, it's really hard to break out unless you have someone who's coming in and questioning, why are we doing it this way? And that's one of the things that I really hope to do on the Select Board, is just ask why. And push our town to find more dynamic, economically smart ways to support our people. I've lived in a lot of places, and I've never lived somewhere where the community is as involved as it is here. When I tell my friends about this in California, I say, okay, well, have you ever seen Gilmore Girls? And they're like, what? That actually happens? And it's this special thing that we have here in New England. And we have the added benefit of people love being here because it's just so beautiful and we treat our people so well. So I really hope to bring that fresh angle to the Select Board so that we can make it easier for folks to live here. The cost of living is rising. I would love to be able to support all generations to live here in peace and dignity. Thank you, and I hope I have earned your vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the Harwich Voter Information Committee for collaborating with us to provide this forum. Thank you to all the candidates for choosing to run and for their participation and for giving voters a choice in our democratic process. The election is Tuesday, May 20th at the Community Center at 100 Oak Street. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Now listen to this. Last year, in the spring election, only 7% of Harwich residents voted. 93% of Harwich residents let 7% make the decisions. So please, you can do better than that. God, I hope he's tempted. Grab a friend, vote, make it a social event, because democracy is not a spectator sport. So get out and vote, and thank you for being here tonight.